This year, and members only is going to be $200. However, you can still do the pricing thing again, where you put down $20 and it will ask you for $30 a month for 6 months. I sound like a car salesman. Free financing, no interest, small down payment. But this year, however, we're going to let our members do that for couples passes as well. So if you want a couples pass and you want to do a payment plan, you put down $30 and we'll give you an invoice every month for $50 for 6 months. As long as the early registration is open. That's only for the early registration. I don't honestly remember how much we decided the partner's ticket was, but we went up like $20 on the tickets because we are growing, and as we grow, our budget needs to grow with it. Okay? So we bumped, this is the first, I don't know how many of you realize this is the first time we've increased the ticket prices since I think 2007. Okay, so it's $20, and so if you want to do that, all you have to do is register online. We do have a computer back there at registration if you'd like to go ahead and do it. If you have any questions, you just see me or Mary Phillips or Carlene, who's probably hiding.
Right here.
Okay, say it again. Carlene, she's the techno whiz bang for the GCLS. And that's the techno whiz bang. Are you comfy person? Okay.
I might lay down this.
I like you sometimes. Anyway, so that's that. Just to make sure that you all have the added information for today's changes on the schedule. Carsen does get to talk until 10:15. If she doesn't want to talk until 10:15, she doesn't have to.
Oh no.
But she gets to talk until 10:15. And apparently,
I paid.
Spangler and Valley up here are going to make sure I paid to hear you speak until 10:15. I'm not sure you have to worry about Spangler. She's little.
Whitney Davis, that's what I'm expecting.
She likes the toddlers, so I'm not really sure she's a threat.
Where are your Reds in the standings?
Thank me.
Conversation disintegrates.
Chris, I need backup.
Yeah.
I need backup, Chrissy. So anyway, she's just, I can't. Anyway,
It's all about you.
also, we forgot to tell you guys, and I will take the blame for this goofball thing. If you go to the registration desk for the hotel, they will give you you can buy a $10 coupon for a breakfast buffet.
Really?
Yeah, now I tell you about the cheap food.
You don't even have to do that.
Right.
It's only
To share your thing, well, why don't you people tell me this? All the Dallas people are like, no, just tell me that. You tell me. You all gotta share. Okay, so also the autograph session today starts at Spangler. Are you listening?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Autograph session today. I got
Because
it.
you have to be there. You are required. I have paid to have you
Well played. Well played.
Okay. So the autograph session is from 5 to 6:30. And between about 4 and 4:30, you will see a bunch of hotel peoples coming in. And they're going to set up a U-shaped tables for us so that we can get around easily. Okay? So we're not like, we're not going to sit them at all the table rounds and be like, I got to go over here and then around the circle and bump into people and all that nonsense. So we've got it set up. We just have to get it set up. So we see the hotel people milling about, just get out the way. Okay? All right, now, so for the amazing Carsen Taite. She's a sweetheart. I just have to say that. She's very nice. And I gotta also say that this is the third year she bugged me for the dates for the con. Because every year she's like, are you gonna have it sometime not in June? She's like, are you gonna have it sometime not at the 1st of June? I have this thing I have to go to because, I'm a lawyer person. And they make me. And you keep having it at the same time. And I'm like, oops. So this year I told her the dates and she went, woo! And then I said, will you speak? And she went, okay. So, I'll read you Carsen's bio, just in case there's actually one person out there that knows who she is. Carsen is a Goldie Award winner, Lambda Literary finalist, and many other things. I forgot that. What was that one award that's the Rainbow Readers Award? No, she's a Lavender Certificate Award winner. I forgot that one, sorry. I knew there was one I was forgetting. Lavender Award Certificate, if you don't know about Alice B. Readers, that is big time, I think, in my opinion. It's all readers giving you their props for your stuff, and it's amazing little thing that they can do. According to Carsen's bio, and I assume this is true, because I have read her stuff, so I'm thinking it's true. Carsen Taite is on a mission to spin tales with plot lines as interesting and as true, as often as true, as the interesting and believable stories she's encountered in her cases and career as a criminal defense lawyer. She's big time, people. She's the author of numerous short stories, 8 novels, and is currently working on her 9th novel, Rush. Do you read the Luca books? Okay. And which is a romantic intrigue. So I'm going to shut up because she's been in the name Carsen Taite.
I'm a little amazed at how many people are up. I'm a little amazed that I'm up. I'm not a morning person. So that's the one thing that Patty didn't tell me. You know, come speak at 9 a.m. So it's a good thing she didn't tell me that up front. No, actually, I'm very happy to be here. I'd like to thank Patty Schramm and the rest of the GCLS board and all the volunteers who make this event possible, all the readers and writers who spent their hard-earned dollars to travel here, because I think it's important that we celebrate lesbian fiction. My name is Carsen Taite, in case you didn't know, and I started writing in late 2006. My first book was published in 2008. I've had 8 books published, mostly romantic intrigues and mysteries. I was given a one-word topic for today's talk, and that word was romance. That's pretty big and broad. I know not everyone in the audience is a romance reader or writer, so I tried to think of what I could say that would interest everyone, and I came up with this title. What's love got to do with it? Raise your hand if you're in love. Keep your hands up. Okay, not all your hands. If you don't already have your hand up, raise your hand if you want to be in love. Okay, keep your hands up. Now everybody look around the room. Let's do one more. Raise your hand if you've ever been in love. We really don't have everybody. Come on. What other question could I possibly ask? Okay, you can put your hands down. Although it would be fun to have you leave them up the rest of the day. But look at what we all have in common. Love. We either have it or we want it. We're either dressing for it, we're surfing for it online, we're exercising for it, dieting for it, we sing songs about it, we read books about it, or we write books about it. I met my wife on a Sunday morning. We'd been talking online for weeks. I'd seen her picture, but not a live body. I'd read her tone, but I'd never heard her voice. I knew what she liked to do, eat, listen to, and read, but I'd never witnessed any of these preferences being acted on. We arranged a coffee date. You know the kind. Quick, safe, public. We both pulled into the parking lot at the same time, and later we would tell the story of the jolt of electricity that passed between us as we walked together into the coffee shop. We were walking toward the life we'd spend together. In the preference to best lesbian romances, Radcliffe wrote, "Love and romance may defy simple definition, but every story in this collection speaks to the universal thread that binds lovers everywhere: possibility." The morning I met my wife, I tried on the possibility of an actual date, a kiss, a commitment, a life together. And 10 years later, I can tell you the possibilities still thrive and excite us. We've helped each other realize dreams, mine to be a writer, hers to be an artist. Someday we'll retire, grow old together, travel. So why am I telling you this personal story? Because love, real and possible, is exactly what romance is all about. Because love has everything to do with our stories. And now I take a drink of water. Don't worry, I'm not going to do the rest of the talk in an accent. My friends are worried because I have an accent. Okay, romance or not, the category doesn't matter. Think of all the paranormal, sci-fi, historical, and other genre books you've ever read. I bet every one of you could name a set of characters that either fell in love or you wished would fall in love in those books. Whether they did or not really isn't the issue. It's about the possibility. But I digress a little bit. I was asked to talk about romance, and by golly, I'm going to. So I'm going to start by defining our topic. And you might feel a little like we're in an English class. So this is the dictionary definition of romance. I'll let you read among yourselves. There's no test. The word romance means many different things, but at its core, it's a story. And that's the framework for what I have to say today. Keeping that in mind, let's look at how romance writers in America defines romance. A central love story. The main plot centers around individuals falling in love and struggling to make relationships work. A writer can include as many subplots as she wants, as long as the love story is the main focus of the novel. Emotionally satisfying and optimistic ending. Lovers who risk and struggle for each other in their relationships are rewarded with emotional justice and unconditional love. So the key points here. Couples falling in love and struggling to make a relationship work. Lovers who risk and struggle for each other and the relationship awarded with emotional justice and unconditional love. It's about the story. So I filmed the following clip without Radcliffe knowing I was filming her because she doesn't like to be taped. But I did give her permission before playing it here. Because I'm not stupid. And now I just, there we go. So I'm going to play a little clip for you.
I think that, as everyone here has said, and as Allie put very succinctly, I think that the reason that we read romances is for the journey. We want to experience all the elements of falling in love, of making a connection, of reliving our wonderful experiences or living the dreams that we have. And I think the key to connection is allowing your characters to listen to one another. And the essential element I think we have to answer in our romances is why these two women, or two men, or whatever it is you're writing, why those two and no one else are perfect for each other. And the conflict is why they're not perfect for each other. Because, very often what we want the most is also what we fear the most or what challenges us the most. And those are the things we have to find in our characters.
I love that clip. A romance distilled down to its most essential elements. My favorite part of what she had to say was about the journey. We all want to take that journey with the characters, even though we know, if it's a traditional romance, what's going to happen. We know where it's going to lead, but it's about discovery and rediscovery. For those of us who are in long-term relationships, it's about reliving, rekindling the feelings that grabbed us in the beginning, that led us to take the next step. For those of us who are taking the first steps on the road to romance, it's about affirmation. Whether you're in life's journey, the ride you take with the characters in our novels makes you feel deep inside the essential need we all have to love and be loved. I'm going to talk about the love story kind of romance, obviously, but on a broad scale. And here are the questions I pose. What do romance novels mean to us? Why are they important as pieces of literature and as parts of our daily lives? And why you should embrace the romance on the pages, whether you're reading the story or writing it. I'm going to break my answer down into 3 parts, and each represents the essential benefits that romance novels provide. But before I get started, I want to read an article that I found on NPR that really resonated with me. The title is, "Don't Hide Your Harlequins." I'm just going to read a few portions from this article. Hi, my name is Bobby. I read romance. I read my first romance novel when I was 12, The Fortunes of Love by Carolyn Courtney. I checked it out and read it in one sitting, breathless to the end. So this was romance, a novel for me, a girl who loved old-time, unabashedly sentimental movies like Gidget, The Sound of Music, and Singing in the Rain. This book was what I'd been looking for, a glimpse into the commingled elation and vulnerability of falling in love, losing that love, and regaining it. It was emotional, sweet, and scary. And the moment those characters admitted their love for each other in the end, after everything, in spite of everything, because of everything, I felt such bittersweet joy. My mom, a teacher, thought romances were beneath me. My school librarian gave me disapproving looks when I checked out more romances from the bookmobile, and my best friend's mother told me I should be ashamed for reading such trash. In fact, I was fascinated by the road to love storylines and the psychological metamorphoses that had to take place in order to overcome internal and external conflicts so these two people could earn their happily ever after. To me, those were every bit as interesting as my mother's whodunits or my sister's sci-fi and fantasy excursions, and far more touching. But I was also ashamed because of all those people. They made me feel like I should be. Why is our devotion to this lovely, affirming storytelling something we should hide or apologize for? Why this intellectual idea that romance is something to look down on? We know that many intelligent, educated women read it. They must. Romance continues to dominate the publishing industry. Romance may not interest you, I get that. I've decided to stop apologizing, though, and I'm no longer ashamed. And even if you don't read romances, there's a lot to be proud of in a successful industry that's so dominated and influenced by women. In romance, we are the creators, the intended audience, and the receptive consumer, showing our appreciation through astronomical sales. Female writers writing for female readers with traditionally female interests. Hi, my name is Bobby. I'm smart, well-educated, well-read, and I'm very proud to say that I read romance. Pretty amazing, huh? So, now I'll get back to me. And my 3 things that I think romance brings to the table for all of us. Part 1, romance is reflection. I'll never forget the first time I met Lee Lynch. It was during Women's Week in Provincetown. I was green, new to the world of writing, and excited to meet this vanguard of lesbian fiction who chronicled the lives of women who paved the way. Women's. She could not have been more humble and assuming and genuinely surprised at all the attention she received wherever she went. I'm pretty sure when I asked if she wanted to vlog with me, she was just too darn polite to say, "What is that, and who are you?" She graciously talked to me about her recent release, Beggar of Love.
A lesbian's life story up to about age 50, her demons, and oh gosh, there's an awful lot to it. If I had it, I'd read the back of it to you. Jefferson, alcoholic, the lesbian you always wanted to be or are, and a sweeping romance. Excellent. Yeah.
Lee Lynch's Beggar of Love doesn't fit the genre of a traditional romance, but love and passion are at the very heart of the book. Jefferson's passion for love, life, alcohol, drive her every decision, and we as the readers cheer her on, hoping until the last page is turned that she'll find the love she wants and craves. I love that Lee defines her book as a sweeping romance, because although I know she meant romance in the classic sense, I associate all the characteristics of a traditional love story's main character with Jefferson. She's falling in love, she's struggling with relationships, and in this epic tale, Lee shows us how love shapes Jefferson, for better or worse, throughout her life. The very best thing about being an author or reader is the ability to meet other authors. I've been able to meet, collaborate with, and learn from women that I regard as my heroes, like Liddy. I've also had the privilege of meeting another one of my heroes, J.M. Redmond. And she and I have had some feisty conversations about romance. Here's one of them. You thought, yeah.
So, what's the biggest challenge of arcing that relationship over these books?
Well, some of it is I'm not writing a romance. And I think that's some of it, is I'm not trying to make a happy ending.
But your readers crave that romantic element. Do you find that to be true of all of them, or just me?
I really kind of do struggle with. You're trying to tell people, no, I'm not writing a romance. I'm writing a mystery. I'm writing a hard-boiled mystery. So if you expect it's going to have that happy end, you read in the series, you understand that some books really don't have happy ends.
That's true. That's
And they left
absolutely
it
true.
as there's been a resolution and things, and I hope I've kind of resolved things in the way that the book ends, and you can read the book itself without feeling of it hanging. But it's not necessarily a happy ever after resolution. And I actually discovered that I usually trope it. It's one book is a sort of that not so happy ending, and then it's a little more resolved, and then it's a not so happy ending.
You know, that's been absolutely true.
Yes, I know. Everything like that before I never
But I do think, I know I recognize they're not romances, but I do think it's interesting that I think it's a big thing to tackle in terms of, you've got this mystery, so that's a big thing, and then you arcing this relationship over the books, and I think that's, taking a lot to weave in. So.
Well, one of the interesting things is talking to people who read a lot of other books, and particularly the straight mysteries. I mean, you look at the hard-boiled heterosexual female detectives, they don't have relationships.
Yeah.
The power dynamics of that are so different. For lesbians, you kind of can do it, but because there's much more equality in the power relationships.
Yeah.
But it's like, how do you sustain that? And to me, I do not want to go into that, I met the love of my life, and 3 months later, the breakup, and then you meet another love of your life. Because to me, that's just kind of cliche, and it's not. What I'm trying to do is write within the confines of the genre, also to struggle with how do people find justice? How do people overcome things that crash into their lives? How do they deal with these things? And, that's why Mickey's never really not have that necessarily happy ending.
Right, but she's grown as a person.
Exactly. She has grown as a person. We watched her struggle. We watched her get that arc toward justice, toward finding the light, to be cliche, to finding that place where you're more comfortable with yourself, and understanding that life is going to keep dripping you away. And how do you become a good person, even though the choices can be very difficult?
Boy, she caught me on that. She said she'll continue to. But Jean's right. Her hard-boiled noir detective series featuring Nikki Knight is not a romance, but the search for the mental and emotional fulfillment in her main character is part of the journey. Her series carries us through the life and passions of Mickey as she finds love as it slips away and returns in a more developed and more mature form. Like her search for justice, and remember the RWA definition includes the term emotional justice, her love for Cordelia has everything to do with what drives her and shapes her growth over the course of the series. Other series writers have used their characters' relationships in a similar fashion to illustrate the development of their main characters. Alley Valley's Kane Casey series, Devil series, it's an excellent portrait in how perspectives change when we choose to share our lives with someone else, how loving outward can help us see inward. Speaking of Alley Valley, I just have to play it for you.
Okay, so I finished Love Match last week. Yes, sort of. I like how you always write action books. There's jet airplanes, there's killings, and then there's the wonderful bride. I'm killing was it hard to accept the restraint? I think it was. I got actually Caroline, and she said, why don't you ever write anything about flowers? It's
No matter how many gangsters, thugs, snipers, special ops, detectives, pro tennis players, airplane pilots, Navy commanders, no matter how many people are tortured, bleed, and die at the Kansas Valley's books, love and justice are front and center. The romance in our stories is not only a catalyst to reflect on our own lives, but perhaps even more valuable, the love we see there is an affirmation. Does anyone else remember the first time you found one of our stories? Do you recall the feeling when you discovered characters that even though they may not look like you, have the same jobs as you, live where you did, they loved other women, just like you, and it was okay. It was better than okay. It was right and just and powerful. Affirmation. What an incredibly powerful feeling that is. Now I know that many of us fill the pages of our novels with sleek, hot women's with great jobs and plenty of cash. And I hear plenty of rumblings out in the community and the like about how unrealistic that is. But I challenge you to take a closer look at the genre, and you'll find that we're all reflected on the pages of our books. From Sarah the housekeeper in Melissa Braden's Heart Block, who works hard to carve out a living for herself and her daughter, to Joey Lang, the blue-collar boy in Rachel Spangler's Love Life, who counts her pennies after a shift at the coffee shop. Marissa Shabbat and Karen Callmaker's Finders Keepers, whose body image blocks her view of true love. And Jefferson from Lee Lynch's Beggar of Love, who often chooses the soothing relief of alcohol to the painful choices that relationships require. We are all represented. None of us may have been beauty pageant winners like Ashley Giroux in KG McGregor's Rhapsody, but many of us share the secrets she worked so hard to hide and overcome. We may not be wealthy gangsters like Kane Casey, but we've known the pain of betrayal and the lust of revenge. No matter who you are, no matter who you want to be, you can find yourself represented in our work. And most of the time, you can witness redemption and renewal between the pages. What a beautiful affirmation, and how romantic is that? And there's another very important part to the affirmation piece. Suspense. Wake up.
Yeah.
Not you, the computer.
Most of my characters are in there coming out later in life, which is kind of what happened to me. I think that's an untapped genre. You see it now. There's so many women are making that decision to go ahead and I think it's a lot to do with that we're more accepted in society now, so that those rules, those rigid rules. It wasn't a pleasant experience for me. My best friend on camera, she was there, she knows it wasn't pleasant. But my mother finally came around and decided it was okay. I kind of kept reliving that through those stories, that wonderful first love feeling, those wonderful feelings. You're just feeling that, I think those two. I've been missing all my life. And then, it's supposed to feel like that. Oh yeah, and I've always written. So my wife said, write these things down, and I did. And what happened?
Thank you, Ari Bradshaw, for sharing part of your personal story. We have many reasons to celebrate this week. The Windsor and Perry decisions were monumental, historic, and they paved the way for equality in our lifetime. Our work is not done. I keep hearing how things are changing because of our youth, because they've shirked the prejudicial view of their parents and grandparents and embrace us for who we are. I believe that is true, but 4 out of 10 youth say the community in which they live is not accepting of LGBT people. LGBT youth are twice as likely as their peers to be physically assaulted, kicked, or shoved at school. It wasn't easy when Lee Lynch grew up, it wasn't easy when I grew up, and it still isn't easy to come out, to affirm who we are. But our stories of emotional justice, of falling in love, of happily ever afters give us hope. We all come out at our own time and pace, but I challenge everyone to find that time sooner rather than later and to own all that you are entitled to. For every woman, young or old, who hasn't found the way, who feels trapped by circumstance, who feels frightened by prejudice, our stories are monumentally important. Whether it's Ari Bradshaw's stories of love late in life, or books like those by Rachel Spangler, Ashley Bartlett, M.L. Rice, geared toward youth and young adults, you can find a story that serves as affirmation for who you are. From the books that assume living out in crowd is a given to the ones where the characters struggle to find peace with their sexuality and come out to their community, romance, with all its promise, is a beacon. What other reason could there be to come out than to be with the one you love, find the one you love, and celebrate you love, just like every other couple in the world? And now for the third piece of what I believe romance does for us. Inspiration. Love stories are inspiring. Does anyone want to argue with me about that? All right, this next slide contains a quote from the article I read before. Yes, generally the initial attraction is physical, but still by the end you understand that these people love each other because of who they are, that they bring out the best in each other. Also, to deserve that happily ever after, these characters have to change and to grow. They have to develop into people that are worthy of each other, who are ready and willing to risk everything to earn the love, respect, and admiration of this person they love. How inspiring is that? And this is true whether you're talking about characters who get happily ever afters or not. To move about the world and garner goodwill and respect, well, one could do worse than aspiring to be like the characters in our novels. I was lucky to be in P-Town last year during Women's Week, as I have been for the last 5 years. The energy there is amazing, from the strong tides of the ocean to the women sweeping through the streets of town and making the seaside Mecca their own. A few years ago, I was privileged to watch Lee Lynch legally marry her beautiful bride, Lainey. And last year, I, along with a room full of authors and readers, witnessed my dear friends Trinity Tam and Nell Stark become engaged. I had the privilege of talking to them moments after the surprise proposal, and I want to play a clip of what they had to say.
It's a beautiful ring, and I had no idea that was coming. I mean, we talk about getting married all the time, and like I thought we were gonna exchange fountain pens as engagement presents.
Epiphany about a month ago, and I was like, because we have been talking about getting married, and we've been talking about a lot, like when, where, who should we invite, and all the logistical stuff, which comes with weddings and marriage. But then I was talking to my best friend, and I was like, you know what? It's like, why can't we have that, like, really romantic moment? Yes, that moment where there's, like, the surprise element and the awesome hugging and kissing element. Just because we know that's what we're going to include. We can't have that moment.
Feeling inspired? What could be more inspiring than two romance novels getting hitched? Trin's words are spot on and speak to the heart of what we get from romance novels, the moment. The hugs, the laughter, the tears, the surge of feeling when we realize love is possible in whatever form is right for us, whether it's a ring, a shared house, a family, or maybe just a promise of more to come. There are some who caution that romance novels are unrealistic, that they set us up for failure because true love can never live up to the true love in the pages of a book. I say these people read too much nonfiction. Of course, our books are fiction, and we all know that life doesn't end with the mere glimpse of happily ever after that novels provide. But a tale of romance can inspire you to be a person capable, open, and accepting of love, and these are the first steps to finding romance. I'm coming to the end here, but I want to read you the beginning of a story that started long ago, but it was just written this week. I'm going to try and make it through this. When at first Windsor inspired Long to marry, neither New York nor any other state granted them that right. After waiting some years, in 2007, they traveled to Ontario to be married there. It seems fair to conclude that until recent years, many citizens had not even considered the possibility that two persons of the same sex might aspire to occupy the same status and dignity of a man and woman in lawful marriage. For marriage between a man and a woman, no doubt had been thought of by most people as essential to the very definition of the term and to its role and function throughout the history of civilization. That belief, for many who had long held it, became even more urgent, more cherished when challenged. For others, however, came the beginnings of a new perspective, a new insight. Accordingly, some states concluded that same-sex marriage ought to be given recognition and validity in the law for those same-sex couples who wish to define themselves by their commitment to each other. The limitation of lawful marriage to heterosexual couples, which for centuries had been deemed both necessary and fundamental, came to be seen in New York and other states as an unjust exclusion. Slowly at first, and then in rapid course, the laws of New York to acknowledge the urgency of this issue for same-sex couples who wanted to affirm their commitment to one another before their children, their family, their friends, and their community. And so New York recognized same-sex marriages performed elsewhere, and then it later amended its own marriage laws to permit same-sex marriage. New York, in common with 11 other states and the District of Columbia, decided that same-sex couples should have the right to marry and so live with pride in themselves and their union, in a status of equality with all other married persons. That's from the Windsor decision that was issued this week. Thank you, Justice Kennedy. I don't need to read the rest of that story. We all know how it ends, and we're all on the road to happily ever after. If this talk has sounded a bit like a Sunday sermon, well, bless you all. My goal here today is to get us all to look at romance in a positive light, to celebrate it, to embrace it, because love has everything to do with it and with us. My name is Carsen Taite, and I write romance.
That's in 15.
What? Questions?
You want to take questions? I don't have any questions. I'm just asking.
No.
My question is, are you going to take questions?
Rachel Spangler asked me if I was going to take questions. The rest of you are thinking, where are the donuts, right? Right? If you have a question, I'll take it, but if not, I'm totally fine to go off the stage. Thank you so much for your generosity.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you all. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Your attention, please.